In visual culture, there's several ways that artists and creators alike are able to create meaning by referencing other works that already exist. In the postmodern era of visual culture, a strategy that defines this is called intertextuality. Intertextuality is a combining of text. It could be like images, theater, film, and literature, for example, to produce new work. These works will often comment on social and political issues and using the relationship of text materials to kind of shape the original meaning or original intention of the work. Under the umbrella of intertextuality, I'll be highlighting two strategies in which it is delivered, that is being pastiche and parody. Pastiche is when an artist will mix and reference a number of styles of the past to create something new, but it doesn't really function to mock or comment on the original works. It's more concerned about the celebration of it. Parody, however, uses imitation that is supposed to be humorous and satirical in order to kind of challenge or comment on an original work. Parody also works because the viewer understands the original reference and they therefore can make a better understanding or navigate the meaning that the artist wanted to elicit. In this video assignment, I'm going to be delivering 2 examples of visual culture images to illustrate pastiche and 1 film example of parody. One artist I enjoyed studying about this semester was Yasumasa Morimura. He's a Japanese artist that works in photography and filmmaking. He uses things like props, costumes, makeup, and digital editing to insert himself into both Western culture and art. The work I'm referencing is called Yasumasa Morimura Portrait Van Gogh, in which he uses a stylistic and compositional elements of the original Van Gogh portrait painting for his photograph. Although I wasn't able to find information on how exactly this work was made, I'm assuming he used a combination of costumes, makeup, and post-photo editing to create this likeness of oil paint on his body. The original work by Van Gogh is titled Self-Portrait with Bandaged Ear and Pipe. It shows an image of Vincent post-self-mutilation of his ear smoking a pipe. So this painting depicts his mental health struggles, a painting that became an example of the aspiring lengths and sacrifices an artist will go through to be able to create. He's celebrated in society for his renowned style that influenced modern artists. However, I did learn in my research that his style of outlining and accentuating the figures in his paintings with these dark lines were inspired by Japanese art and block prints. I believe that Yasumasa used a mix of his own photography style and Japanese-inspired style by Van Gogh to insert himself into this famous image. The second example of pastiche I found is from old Guinness ads. It's an image produced by John Gilroy, a former cartoonist and illustrator who created this series of images after Guinness was facing these geopolitical threats that were influencing beer sales. One image I wanted to discuss is called Truly a Beer Made in Heaven. It wasn't actually run, but it uses famous artwork with illustration, brand text, and symbolism to entice people to buy beer. The original painting symbolizes God giving to Adam, so God is seen held in what could be either a womb with a cut umbilical cord or a brain with a brainstem to symbolize his power to create life. This ad shows a combination of John Gilroy's illustrative style and this iconic biblical depiction by Michelangelo's religious realism to influence viewers to purchase the beer. The ad also kind of alludes to this notion that purchasing the beer will give you life and tries to create this image of Guinness beer being a masterpiece and worldly, godly, just as the original painting did. And the references mix and kind of create this new image with the intention to produce consumption. On the other hand is parody, a strategy commonly used in film. So the visual culture example of parody I wanted to use is Scary Movie. It's one in a series of horror movie spoof films. These films are known for their very exaggerated satirical nature and reference to formal elements and predictable conventions of horror and slasher genre. In this film, the 2 main references of previous films are Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. So there's a lot to unpack, but I'm just going to focus on the parody of female character tropes. For example, Cindy Campbell, who is the main protagonist in Scary Movie, mocks the character of Sidney Prescott, who is played by the actress Neve Campbell in Scream. She represents this trope of the quote-unquote final girl, coined by this feminist artist Carol J. Clover in her book Men, Women, and Chainsaws, published in 1992. It explains how in every horror movie, the last girl standing always represents this virtuous virgin. She doesn't partake in any illicit behavior like the rest, and therefore she's able to make better decisions, be more vigilant, and ultimately escape her death. For example, Cindy's love interest in the movie Bobby Prince pressures her to sleep with him after turning him down on several occasions. But during this intimate moment they share, he gets electrocuted by barbed wire that reads "No trespassing." In another, bats come out of her underwear and like a giant bush of genital hair, which he uses as a weed whacker to trim, all alluding to this virginity in a comical way. It's not only satirical comment on the image of the pure virgin woman often portrayed in film, but it shows that women can be seen in a different light where they're not solely these easy objects to just obtain. Overall, intertextuality in visual culture is an effective tool in being able to communicate and expand from existing works. It allows artists to celebrate and explore a variety of styles, mixing their own to create new, unique images. I think it also allows marginalized creators to input their own personal, social, and political ideas into existing works that bring new meaning or insight to viewers. But moreover, I think it just takes the pressure off artists to always have to come up with something new, like new ideas and concepts, and that there's so much already existing work to play with and to build from.